Get ready to get in the game. Stretch, strengthen, live, and thrive. You can be a winning athlete in the game of life. It's the Peel Appeal with author and corrective exercise specialist Matt Peel.
Hey, this is Matt Peel with the Peel Appeal podcast. How are you today? What's going on out there? Are you having a great day? Are you having an amazing day? I hope that you are, and I hope that after you listen to this podcast episode today, that you're even more amazing and more marvelous and more fantastic than you already are, because you're going to learn something very important today regarding your nutrition, and might even flip on its head what you thought about a macronutrient that is so vilified by social media that you would think it has murdered thousands and thousands and thousands of people. What do you think that could be? Well, let's get into it and find out. So, have you ever heard of needing a protein shake, after your workout, or maybe a protein bar or something like that? Have you ever read the label? Even though it says protein, there's something else in it. Do you know what it is? Carbohydrates. That's right. Carbohydrates, right? You need carbohydrates after your workout. But how much do you need? And why do we need carbs after a workout? You might be thinking, what? It's protein, right? So all I need is protein. All I got to have is just all this protein. I can't have carbs. Carbs bad. Man, I don't know why you're telling me this to eat carbs. They're evil. They are not evil. They are your friends when you eat the right kind. Why is that? Well, it's because the body uses something called glycogen. Glycogen comes not from protein, but from carbohydrates. So that's the main source of energy, and it comes from carbs. Whether that carb is an apple or whether that carb is a cupcake, right? A carb is a carb. There's glycogen involved in it. We're not going to get into details about processed versus, fruit and vegetables right now. Let's just talk about carbs in general. So a lot of this information today is coming from Chad Kursick. He's a PhD in exercise and performance nutrition, and at the Exercise and Performance Nutrition Lab at Lindenwood University. So I did a continuing education unit on this, and that's why I wanted to share it with you today, to kind of take that evilness off of carbohydrates. So let's get into exactly what it is for glycogen. So muscle glycogen status is a key determinant of exercise capacity, right? If you're feeling blah when you get into your workouts, one of the first things I ask my clients is, when is the last time you ate? And if they say, probably like 5 hours ago, well, no wonder you feel bleh, and your workout is going to suck. Even if you're up early in the morning and you're one of my early morning clients, if you haven't had anything, you're still fasting from the night before. So that's why I got to break the fast a little bit with some glycogen so we can have our exercise capacity. So reduced or depletion of glycogen undermines the ability to perform high intensity work. So we talk about working out, but that also has to do with, say, cutting the grass or using your brain. Well, your brain also uses fats, but any type of high intensity physical work, whether it's be sports or you're out in the yard or you got to, move some furniture around, help somebody move all day, right? That's why you need glycogen. So as glycogen depletion nears completion, say that fast, physical exercise becomes extremely challenging to impossible. Now, again, we're talking out to extremes. If you haven't eaten for, say, a day, and then try to get in there and work out, right? Which most of us don't do. But that's why you have some issues, right? You haven't eaten and you haven't had good carbohydrates in you. We're not talking about spiking your blood sugar. We're just talking a nice steady flow. So beyond being a key fuel source, your glycogen status functions as a signal to the brain as a fuel sensor. It impacts intracellular signaling, so how your cells talk to each other, and it helps with osmotic characteristics in the muscle cell. So again, as nutrients flow back and forth through the cell wall. So carbohydrates are very important to you. Don't fall into the trap of them being evil and bad. Like anything else, if you eat too much, sure. If all you're having is chips and cookies and cupcakes and sodas, yeah, I get it. You're right. That is bad. But you shouldn't be eating that shit anyways. So it becomes a moot point, right? So if you're the average workout session, and say if you're just doing some sports and maybe you play one game a week, 2 max, right? You don't need to have an urge or have to do carb loading, right? Even if you run a 5K for a race this weekend, or you're even going a 10K, right? You don't need carb loading. You can just have a regular amount throughout the week, and that'll be enough to sustain you for your physical activity or your exercise of around an hour. Now, if we're talking more intense, then yes, there is levels that we need to have some more carbohydrates, and I'll get to those in a little bit. But if you're listening to this, you're just a general fitness guy or girl with, not a specific goal necessarily of completing a marathon, or even if doing just a 5K, again, you can just eat your normal carbohydrate load. So it's important that we mix the carbs and protein for maximum recovery effectiveness. Yes, have that protein shake. You're absolutely right. Well, what else you need is some carbohydrates to help with your glycogen replacement. So that's where you need some simple carb like a piece of fruit. So or you can eat it on the side, or you can blend it in. But having some simple carbs to upload in your glycogen stores is pretty important after your workout, not just having only protein. So there was a study done here in Applied Physiology in 2002, and they did a study of having a shake afterwards, of having something with low carbohydrate, high carbohydrate, or carbohydrates mixed with protein. And in the first 40 minutes after your exercise, if you had a carbohydrate with the protein, you had a 22% glycogen recovery, right? So now you're ready for some activity again. If you only had just a high carbohydrate, say shake, you had 11.5% glycogen recovery. And if you had low carbohydrate shake, for example, you only had a 5.5% glycogen recovery, right? So it's important to have both of them together. If you take that out over 4 hours, you had a 46.8% glycogen recovery by having carbohydrates and protein together. So that's really the best way to do it. So if you're going to go to your local smoothie store, wherever it may be, right, don't just get the one that says, well, net zero carbs or very, very low carb. Negative, Ghost Rider. You want something with a nice amount of carbs in there. So almost a 1-to-1 ratio would be great, but definitely have something with some carbohydrates in it. Again, because you need that. So if we assume that you have a normal diet and you're generally working out 1 to 2 hours a day, maybe 3 to 4 times a week, then there's a certain amount of carbohydrates that are important for you to have. And how much is that? Well, we're going to do a little bit of math here, right? So first of all, we got to convert your weight in pounds to kilograms. Why? I don't know, but everything out there in science land has our weight in kilograms. Remember, out in Europe, the metric system. Here in America, we're the only ones on the standard system. So divide your weight by 2.2, and that tells you how much you weigh in kilograms. So if you're a general fitness person like myself, you need between 3 to 5 grams per kilograms per day of carbohydrates. So what does that equal to? Well, for me, I weigh 168 pounds. Divided by 2.2 means I weigh 76 kilos. So if I say, take the middle of that and say times 4, then that means I need 305 grams of carbohydrates daily for just functioning, right? General fitness program with no specific performance goal. And that's for most gym goers. That's what we're going to do. Most of us fitness, just generalists, that's what we're going to need. Now, if you're maybe trying to get an obstacle course race in, or you're training for something that's a little bit more intense, or maybe you're playing a couple games a week, maybe a few games of intense tennis a few days a week, then that can go up to 5 to 6 grams per kilos per day, right? I would say, again, for 90% of us out there, and yeah, I really do think 90%, that's would be the absolute most that we would need on a daily basis. And again, that's only if you're really having some high intensity exercise, playing a few games of tennis, maybe you're upping up your workout regimen more than usual. Anything more than that is for really high intensity exercise, a few hours a day. You know, if you're doing football training camp, for example, right? What's going on right now as I record this for everybody, then your carbs are going to be up. You're going to need maybe 6 to 9 or 8 to 10 grams per kilo per day. But for you, the general fitness buff, right around 3 to 5 is perfectly fine. So, shall we get some more numbers? Let's get some more numbers because math is hard. I get it. So let me give you some of those numbers. So if you weigh, say, 150 pounds, you're going to need between 206 and 340 grams of carbs per day. If you weigh 175 pounds, you might need up to just below 400, right around 400 grams per day. If you're around 200 pounds, you're going to need like about 275 to around 450 grams of carbs per day. And if you're 225 pounds, you're going to need between about 307 and 511 grams of carbs per day. So wherever you fit in there, again, do the math like I just talked about so you can get specifically what it is for you. Don't be afraid of carbs. They are your friends. Now, when you say, well, Matt, what kind of carbs do I need to eat? Well, again, we want healthy carbs. We want things like fruits. We want vegetables. We want nuts, seeds, legumes. You know, they have a good blend of plant-based proteins, but also have good carbohydrates and good fats in them. Sure, some whole grains, but don't get everything from whole grains. Yes, stay away from the simple sugars and the soft drinks, of course. You know, we don't need a Gatorade just because we worked out for an hour. Water is more than plenty for you on that. So figure out what your sweet spot is there for your carbohydrates. Make sure you have them, and you're going to feel a lot better. Having a little bit of some simple carb, maybe an hour before your workout, a half a banana, hey, that's a great snack that helps you fuel, and you're able to use that fructose because it breaks down to glucose, which then makes it available for glycogen pretty fast, right? So do that. I promise you're going to have a much better workout and you're going to have a much better recovery when you implement these strategies. Okay? So remember, as we wrap up, you don't need to carb load for general fitness and just your physically active hobbies. Just eat your normal amount, like I just said, for your weight every single day. You'll have more than plenty of energy and you won't be gaining weight. You won't be, oh my God, I got to cut these carbs out of my life. No, use that strategy. So again, about 3 to 5 grams per kilo per day. So divide your weight by 2.2. That's how you figure out how much you weigh in kilograms. And then implement that strategy and watch your workouts and your recoveries and your recovery improve, right? The science is there. I didn't make it up. I just read it to you. So it is there for you. Believe it, use it. Hey, make carbs your best friend. So if you want some more help, why don't you head over to my website, mattpeel.com, sign up for my weekly email list, order my book, check out my online programs, listen to some past episodes of the Peel Appeal podcast, read my blog, and don't forget to subscribe to the Peel Appeal podcast wherever you're listening today. So, until next time, this is Matt Peel with the Peel Appeal podcast. Have an amazing day.
Are you ready to get in the game? Get personal help, sign up for our newsletter, and pick up your copy of Athlete in the Game of Life, the book, all at mattpeel.com. Thanks for listening.